breakthrough. The front is on fire. The occupiers are being crushed in southern Ukraine. The Ukrainian armed forces have destroyed Russia's defensive line in the Zaporizhzhia direction. The Kremlin is in hysteria. Russia's meat grinder assaults and the occupiers' hellish fire. The Kremlin's deadly orders. Putin craves Pokrovsk's lithium, but the Ukrainian armed forces control the city. All the details are coming up in our report.
This is how people are buried. Local residents, many of whom live nearby, are tragically buried in what was once a community playground.
What is life like in a city on the front line?
There was just a devastating strike. There are significant casualties among the local residents. A man was killed here.
Ukrainians and foreign analysts look to news about this city every time with hope. A small mining and industrial city where in 2024 they still celebrated Independence Day, even though explosions could be heard in the distance. In 2025, the Russian world came right up to the city where life was once vibrant. The Russian army is wiping Pokrovsk in Donetsk region off the face of the earth. Pokrovsk has been a stronghold since 2014. During the occupation of Donbas, Putin's little green men reached Pokrovsk, which at that time was called Krasnoarmysk. A sham referendum was being prepared. Residents who had gathered outside the city council demanded that the military leave the city. They opened fire to kill. 2 local residents were fatally wounded. The city opposed Putin's regime, so control over it remained with Ukraine. After 2014, Pokrovsk in the Donetsk region was considered a deep rear area, a kind of island of freedom without the Russian Spring. But Putin launched a full-scale war. All that remains of Ukraine's key coal mining enterprise are ruins. The population of Pokrovsk, which was over 60,000 people, had dropped to 15,000 by 2024. The approach of Russian troops in August 2024 made the situation in the city worse. Hundreds of thousands of Pokrovsk residents were forced to leave their homes. Those who had once found a new home in Pokrovsk after the occupation of part of Donbas in 2014 and 2022 also left the city.
Leaving. Well, there's simply nothing to live with. Maybe I would like to leave. It's scary, but for now we're still living here. We can still endure it for now.
No matter what Putin says on television, this war isn't about territory, it's about natural resources. The Kremlin was interested in the Pokrovsk district because of its lithium deposits. They seized the strategic Ukrainian deposit, which is one of the largest in Europe.
Pokrovsk is gone. Pokrovsk is gone in the literal sense. It simply doesn't exist anymore. It was wiped out.
Constant attacks by the Russians, who keep striking the settlement and are slowly but steadily advancing, have changed the lives of thousands of Ukrainians.
If we don't support each other, then we'll end up going to Russia as slaves.
There are a lot of people on the train platform as they board the evacuation trains. Some of the passengers are heading to western Ukraine, while others will find refuge in the central regions. That's how it was. And this is what the Pokrovsk train station looks like now.
Come on. We ran 20 kilometers on foot. Can you imagine that? And shells were exploding behind us.
Now the humanitarian situation in frontline Pokrovsk is worsening every day due to constant Russian shelling.
There was just a strike. And yet people in Pokrovsk walk around as if nothing happened.
There are only 3 stores open in the city, and they haven't received any food deliveries for a long time.
The roads are destroyed, and fallen trees block the way. People are asking for help. You drive around, taking risks.
The curfew is long from 3 p.m. to 11 a.m. During this time, it's forbidden to move around the city.
I'm not going to stay here. It's dangerous here. I'm not going. Look at your hand. Do you want it to be amputated?
Despite the fact that there are people in the city who refuse to leave, volunteers and the police continue evacuating people. Every time the volunteers enter Pokrovsk, it's a lottery.
Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Load it up quickly. Come on, hurry, let's close it up. Everything's flying away, damn it.
The occupiers' drones are operating right next to the houses, and there's only one doctor left in the city.
There was a strike here today, right? 4 of them. 4 of them here again? Hey, what are they looking for here? There aren't any soldiers here. Billy, we're the only ones left!
The Russian troops have been tasked with reaching the administrative borders of Donetsk region, so the assaults keep coming one after another, and the occupiers are using every type of weapon against the Ukrainians.
It's absolutely and unequivocally clear that it was a Russian KAB air bomb that tragically hit here. How many more devastating air bombs have to fall upon the innocent city of Pokrovsk before some local residents truly realize that this isn't a genuine liberation, but rather a brutal and destructive act of aggression?
The Russians are also pushing towards Slovyansk because it has the largest shale gas reserves in Europe. The Kremlin is trying to solve its economic problems by seizing Ukrainian territories. Just a few kilometers past Pokrovsk is the Dnipropetrovsk region. The Ukrainian armed forces continue to heroically hold the city. All attempts by the Russian Federation's army to enter Pokrovsk are being thwarted.
At the festival of Russian nationalists in Bashkiria, they are preparing to kill for united Russia. Kadyrov was almost swept away in Turkey. What really happened? Shocking! Putin has resurrected in St. Petersburg. For the first time since autumn, he appeared before the people and immediately received an award from Patrushev. Screaming details coming up in the report.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now.
Nazis from the Russian community turned a small aviation festival in Bashkortostan into a gathering where military training was taking place. And in Buryatia, a representative of the community attacked local girls because of their ethnicity.
Do you have Russian passport?
Yes.
And everything about you is Russian. So why do you say you are Buryat?
But nationality is not indicated in the passport.
Ah, so you're the Nazis, is that it? And I, as a Russian, am supposed to tolerate them?
These are not the first scandalous antics of the Russian community. For example, during one of the raids, members of the community mocked visiting workers, attacked migrants who were selling fruits and vegetables, and allowed passers-by to take their goods. The police watched and did not intervene.
They allowed pensioners, both men and women. They said the seller had run away.
Who gave permission? And who allowed it?
To join the army or maybe somehow register for military service. So, does that mean it's here illegally?
But who gave permission then? I didn't see anyone.
You didn't see them carrying off the fruit?
You see, I'm always only dealing with foreigners.
The Russian community is an ultra-right, nationalist, Islamophobic, anti-migrant organization. The movement's members are practically religious fanatics who defend traditional values and cooperate with law enforcement agencies.
Christ is truly and indeed risen!
The state doesn't arrest these obvious criminals. On the contrary, it turns a blind eye to the Nazis right under its nose, all while talking about Nazism somewhere in the West.
Actually, I am the truest, most genuine nationalist and the most effective one. But this isn't some kind of primitive, foolish and idiotic nationalism that leads to the collapse of our state.
As soon as the security services sense that active people, especially young ones, are starting to gather there, they'll quickly shut the whole thing down, because today in Russia, no unsanctioned or completely uncontrolled activity is needed by the authorities. It doesn't matter which direction it's aimed at. As long as the Russian community is doing things that the authorities consider harmless to them, they will be allowed to exist. But as soon as they sense that the Russian community might start getting involved in some political matters, people will immediately start getting arrested. And there should be no illusions about this.
The Russian authorities have no time for Nazis inside the country, especially against the backdrop of drone attacks on Russia and the cancellation of the Navy Day parade. For the first time since last October, Putin stopped his motorcade on Palace Square in St. Petersburg and came out to meet the people.
Please take care of yourself. Please fight against fascism, which we all people will endure everything. But with your support, that's important. These are not empty words.
Take care of your home!
Of course, it was important for Putin to show that he is still alive, that he came anyway, despite the parade being cancelled. he came to St. Petersburg and tried to stage something in place of the parade, right? That is, some meetings at the Institute, meetings at the Admiralty. In other words, he still tried to create an image of interacting with the sailors.
Putin's public appearances usually happen after crisis moments in his rule. For example, just a few days after Prigozhin's mutiny and a few days after Navalny's funeral.
Well, first of all, let's not forget that nothing prevents you from meeting with specially trained people, right? So it's quite possible that this meeting was staged and it's just presented as a spontaneous stop, but in reality, there are specially prepared people sitting there who have gone through quarantine. And in fact, that's exactly why they're there, because they've passed all sorts of checks, quarantine, and so on.
Another scandalous piece of news. The head of Chechnya, Kadyrov, almost died while vacationing in Bodrum, Turkey. According to Turkish media reports, he started suffocating right while swimming and nearly drowned. But, as they say, Kadyrov doesn't sink.
I keep hearing more and more rumors about my illness. Supposedly, I'm dying. I don't have much time left. First of all, illness and death are the path of every person. No one living has avoided this road.
When he suddenly started suffocating and drowning and had almost drowned and was pulled out by the Coast Guard. But where was his personal security? Could he really be in Turkey without his personal security detail? We heard that his condition is stable. Yes, stable doesn't mean good. It just means he hasn't died yet. We don't even know if he's on any machines or, so to speak, breathing on his own.
Officially, the Chechen authorities have not commented on these reports, especially amid rumors that Kadyrov is dying. But in the latest footage from a week ago, Kadyrov appeared in front of people in the center of Grozny, and in the video, he didn't look very healthy.
16 hours and 10 minutes, I stopped by my brother Ramzan Akhmatovich. We're having tea.
Where did you find me?
This is especially for those so-called concerned pseudo-journalists who are spreading all sorts of rumors.
What happened? Why did he suddenly start gasping for air and drowning? If we look at how many unexpected deaths have occurred in Russia lately, and how actively the FSB and other special services use poisons, then maybe it wasn't even an illness at all. Maybe he ate something wrong or smelled something.
The situation inside Russia continues to become increasingly unstable. The only thing that remains stable is that Putin continues to wage a bloody war despite the obvious harm to his own people.
Shock! A humanitarian hell, Donbas on the brink. Water the color of blood and an epidemic. The Kremlin is silent. The Russian world in all its glory. Discontent is growing, uprisings are brewing. Putin, get ready!
There was a time in Donetsk when you could just turn on the tap and get water. Now, people have to stand in line with buckets. Residents call their bathtub their 3-day supply. That's how much water they manage to store before the next delivery. Today, our region is facing a critical situation with water supply.
Donbas is turning into Africa.
The reservoirs are depleted down to the silt and there's simply nowhere else to get water from. Absolutely nowhere. There's just no more water left.
Since the 21st of July, the so-called authorities have set a schedule. Water is supplied once every 3 days, from 17 o'clock to 21 o'clock. In some districts, there's complete silence. Water doesn't come at all, not even according to the schedule.
We are appealing to the head of our republic, Denis Vladimirovich Pushilin, demanding that the water supply to our settlement be restored. Since 2014, the settlement has endured and probably will continue to endure the ongoing lawlessness regarding public utilities. There has been no water in the settlement for what is probably the 8th or 10th scheduled supply.
However, it should be noted, what comes out of the tap is a murky yellow liquid. Using it is only possible at great risk. You can't really drink it, cook with it, or wash with it.
Drinking water from the tap, Kirovsky district. We pay by the meter, according to the rates, as if it were drinking water. Tell me, can you drink this kind of water?
Residents complain. The water smells like a swamp, there's rust on the bathtub walls, and a residue on the dishes. The key reason for the water crisis in Donetsk is the shutdown of the Seversky Donetsk-Donbas canal. It was through this canal that up to 85% of all the region's water was supplied. Now, most of the canal is under Ukrainian control, and the supply naturally has been stopped.
It's 20 minutes to 7. This is how the water runs in the Pokrovsk district on Uralskaya Street. We are the long-suffering house on this street. We made the water ourselves. For 3 years, we asked, begged, appealed everywhere we could. In the end, we pooled our resources and did everything ourselves. Now, it hasn't even been a month since we got water for ourselves. Well, this is our kind of joy! And how long is this going to last? This has been going on for more than a day already.
After the destruction, the canal was damaged and no longer operates at full capacity. Russia does not have access to the pumping stations and key sections of the infrastructure. Without this, it is impossible to restore stable water supply.
When will we have a full supply of water? And when will we be fully provided with water? This, of course, will only happen when Slavyansk is liberated and when we can launch the water pipeline, not the water pipeline, sorry, but the Seversky-Donetsk canal. The artificial canal is the only one capable of fully supplying the industrial, densely populated Donbas.
Official statements promise water transfers, river repairs, and emergency crews. In reality, the schedules on paper are just nice-sounding promises, but water deliveries are often either delayed or arrive at inconvenient times.
Kalinin district of Donetsk, Nizhneudinskaya Street, Building 3. There was no water on the 9th floor in July. We appealed everywhere we could. Have some conscience! This mistreatment of people could end badly for those in power. People are trusting and patient, but it's better not to push your luck.
People stock up on water, buying it in stores and storing it in bottles and basins. Taking a shower in the morning is already a celebration, as the locals say. To get water next time, you'll have to wait 3 days, and that's if you're lucky. However, there are even more unpleasant consequences.
There's already an epidemic. I think the authorities are keeping quiet about it. Vomiting, diarrhea. Children are being admitted to the infectious disease ward. Adults can treat themselves at home, but it's dangerous to leave kids untreated. And water is the main issue. And also unwashed fruits and vegetables.
The current water situation is critical. The scale of the problem that locals are witnessing now is unprecedented. However, there are those who can't get water even according to the schedule. High-rise buildings suffer the most. Water simply doesn't reach the upper floors because of low pressure. Residents on the 9th, 10th and higher floors are left with empty taps even during supply hours. People go downstairs with canisters, look for spots with good water pressure, or make arrangements with neighbors on lower floors to collect some water.
Our young people are already leaving. Only pensioners will be left. There are no jobs, and living conditions get worse every year. I'm curious, many people file complaints to the Kremlin, but nothing changes. They don't believe the people, they only trust the reports from our officials saying everything is great here.
But you remember, the Russian world promised restoration and a peaceful life. But instead of water, there's a schedule. Instead of free access, there are limits. Instead of proper infrastructure, there's a communal dystopia. This is the contrast between official rhetoric and real life.